Imagine for a second that you are walking through the front doors of a brand new, highly successful school.
Right, like opening day energy.
Exactly. You step inside, and, what is the very first thing that captures your attention? You probably picture these bright, bustling classrooms.
Well, sure. You think of brilliant, passionate teachers engaging with students.
Yeah, you picture innovative curriculum splashed across whiteboards and, the actual hum of learning happening. It's an inspiring scene. But what about the invisible machinery?
It's the stuff behind the scenes.
Right, the gears keeping the compliance in check so those teachers actually have a classroom to teach in. So today we're doing a deep dive into the source material surrounding the Lofton Group. And we want to figure out why the person answering the phones at the front desk might just, hold the keys to a school's actual survival.
Yeah, because it is entirely invisible by design. I mean, when a school is functioning at its absolute peak, you just don't notice the operational foundation at all.
You're just looking at the kids and the teachers.
Exactly. You don't see the massive spreadsheets, the audit preparations, or the enrollment compliance checks. But the moment that invisible machinery breaks down, the entire educational ecosystem just grinds to an absolute halt.
Okay, let's unpack this because our sources today are entirely focused on the Lofton Group, which is an independent educational consulting firm. And they operate under this motto, which is building the systems behind successful schools.
It's a bold claim, but they back it up.
They really do. We are diving into everything from startup consulting for brand new schools to how artificial intelligence is being integrated into the modern school front office.
Which is wild to think about.
Right. But before we get into the heavy machinery of what they do, we kind of have to look at the architect behind it all.
You're talking about Lachelle Lofton, the founder.
Right. And to understand her philosophy, think of a school like a massive stage play. When the curtain goes up, everyone in the audience is completely focused on the actors.
The teachers, the principals.
Exactly. But Lachelle Lofton, she is the stage manager, the lighting director, and the sound engineer all rolled into one. She is the one with the headset in the dark, calling the cues and making sure the stage doesn't literally collapse while the actors are performing.
That's a great way to put it. And, what's fascinating here is if we look at her trajectory, it completely explains her approach to consulting. I mean, she didn't just parachute into educational strategy from some corporate ivory tower or a theoretical policy think tank.
Right. She wasn't just reading about this in a textbook.
Exactly. She built this expertise from the absolute ground up. The timeline in our sources shows she actually started as school secretary back in 2008.
Wait, really? A school secretary?
Yes, in 2008.
Which means she was on the absolute front lines. She was the person dealing with the scraped knees, the frustrated parents, and those massive, unending piles of state paperwork.
Oh, absolutely. The front desk is the ultimate bottleneck. I mean, every single issue in a school, whether it's a sick child or, a state auditor walking in, it all passes through that exact desk.
It's the central hub for everything.
Right. And from there, her timeline shows this relentless progression. By 2014, she was leading monthly professional development and training the first cohort of new office managers.
Wow, so she was already scaling her knowledge.
Yeah, and then in 2015, she was conducting what the sources call a 10 keys rollout. She was presenting at Kent State and physically hitting the road to get new school locations off the ground.
And what really stands out to me in these sources is that she actually founded the Lofton Group in 2011. So she was building this consulting framework while she was simultaneously in the trenches doing the heavy lifting.
Multitasking at its finest.
Seriously.
Yeah.
By 2016, she had taken on the role of director of data. And over 15 plus years, she has played a key role in the founding and operational readiness of approximately 15 different schools across Ohio, Indiana, and Tennessee.
And that geographic and structural footprint is crucial. I mean, she has experience across charter schools, classical schools, and traditional public school systems.
So she's seen it all.
Exactly. It demonstrates that regardless of your educational philosophy, whether you are teaching Latin in a classical charter or running a massive public high school, the operational foundation remains identical.
Okay, let me pause you right there and push back a little bit, because if I'm a parent or even just a taxpayer listening to this, I might think that sounds, I don't know, a bit cynical.
How so?
Well, if I have a brilliant math teacher standing in front of a whiteboard, learning is going to happen, right? Regardless of what the front office is doing. Why is this bureaucratic machinery suddenly taking precedence over the actual teaching?
I completely understand that skepticism, but it really comes down to a harsh reality, which is existential survival.
Existential survival, that's heavy.
It is. The Lofted Group's core philosophy is that without a functional operational reality, an academic vision is just a hallucination.
A hallucination, wow.
Right. Let's say you have that brilliant math teacher. Well, that teacher needs to be paid. The building needs electricity. The resources need to be purchased.
Sure, all the basic logistics.
And public and charter schools receive their funding based on highly scrutinized enrollment and attendance data. So if the front office fails to prove to the state that those students are actually sitting in those seats,
The state closes the checkbook.
exactly, the school shuts down. It literally does not matter how many awards the math teacher has won if the building goes into foreclosure.
Wow, okay, that makes the stakes incredibly clear. So let's look at the actual mechanisms of how a school avoids that fate. When I read through these sources, I see services offered by the Lofton Group with names like compliant data solution, EMISA reporting, and resolving AUDEX errors.
It's a lot of terminology for sure.
Yeah, to the average person, that sounds like a bowl of bureaucratic alphabet soup. What do these systems actually look like in practice? How does this work?
Let's break down the first two of their three specialized divisions to kind of get past the jargon.
Sounds good.
So the first division is school operations strategy. This is the intense, high-stakes startup phase of a school.
Like getting the doors open for day one.
Right. It involves facility coordination for opening day and, critically, the selection and implementation of a student information system, or SIS.
The SIS. Okay, so this is basically the digital nervous system of the school, right?
Precisely. It tracks everything. Grades, daily attendance, medical alerts, parent contact information, disciplinary records, all of it.
So what happens if a school messes up that strategy? Let's say a founding team is so focused on hiring the best teachers that they rush the SIS implementation.
It results in day one chaos, complete chaos.
Really? Just from rushing the software setup?
Oh, absolutely. If the SIS is poorly implemented or the staff isn't trained on it, a teacher logs in on the first morning and has no idea who is supposed to be in their classroom.
Oh, jeez.
The front office doesn't know which students have severe peanut allergies. When a parent calls to ask where their child's bus is, the office manager is just like staring at a blank screen.
Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare.
It is. Learning completely stops because basic safety and logistics have failed.
Which perfectly illustrates your point about the academic vision being a hallucination without the operations.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, that brings us to the second division, which is where the real survival of the school is determined. And that is the compliant data solution.
Right, because this is all about how schools keep their funding.
Yes. The sources focus heavily on EMIS reporting. In states like Ohio, EIS stands for Education Management Information System. It is the centralized system used to report student data to the State Department of Education.
And this is how the state decides how big of a check to write to the school.
Down to the exact penny. This involves massive data submissions, funding reviews, special education reporting, and graduation reporting.
Okay, I want to dig into a very specific term I found in the sources because it sounds so abstract.
Okay, what is it?
The sources mention resolving AUDEX errors. AUDEX. What is the actual mechanism of an AUDEX error? Like, how does something with a weird name like that actually threaten a school's funding?
That is a really great question. AUDEX essentially stands for Ohio District Data Exchange. And an AUDEX error is a data conflict between districts.
A data conflict.
Okay.
Give me an example.
Let's walk through a tangible scenario. Let's say a student transfers from District A to your brand new charter school, which we'll call District B.
Okay, so the student physically walks into my school and sits down in class. I see them there.
Right. But digitally, District A hasn't properly released the student's record.
Why wouldn't they release it?
Well, maybe they made a clerical error. Or maybe there's confusion about the student's exact withdrawal date. So when your school, District B, tries to claim that student for state funding, the state's computer system flags an AUDEX error.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's essentially a bureaucratic tug of war. Two districts are claiming the exact same student.
And I'm guessing the state doesn't just cheerfully pay both districts while they figure it out.
Absolutely not. The state freezes the funding for that student entirely until the conflict is resolved.
Wow.
Now imagine your front office is disorganized and they don't catch that error. Or worse, imagine that happens not just for one student, but for like 50 students who transferred in over the summer.
50 students. The school is suddenly operating with a massive hole in its budget.
Exactly. Millions of dollars could be held up. If the front office can't untangle that knot by diving into the documentation, proving residency, and legally resolving the conflict with the other district, your school simply doesn't get paid.
And suddenly you can't make payroll.
Exactly. That is why the Lofton Group provides operational assessments, district support, and continuous technical assistance. High-stakes compliance isn't just about filing paperwork, it's about actively defending the school's revenue stream.
That is wild. But, here is the glaring vulnerability in that entire compliant data setup that I'm seeing.
What's that?
Well, the state can demand perfect EMS reporting, and a school can buy the most expensive, state-of-the-art student information system on the market.
Right.
But if the person sitting at the front desk doesn't actually know how to navigate that interface, the whole system just freezes anyway. I mean, think of the front office as the air traffic control tower of a school.
Oh, I really like that analogy.
Thanks.
Oh.
Like, the teachers are flying the planes, but the front office is managing the inbound flights, which is the enrollment.
Yeah.
They are routing around sudden storms like a parent in crisis in the lobby, and they're ensuring planes don't crash on the runway by preventing those AUDEX compliance errors. If the tower goes down or if the controller just doesn't know how to read the radar, the planes get grounded.
And that human bottleneck is exactly why Lofton couldn't just build the operational strategy and the software solutions. She had to train the operators.
The people actually sitting at the desk.
Right. And that is the third pillar of the Lofton Group, which is Office Manager University, or OMU.
Yeah, let's talk about OMU. Here's where it gets really interesting, because building a compliant data system without trained staff is basically like buying a Ferrari but not knowing how to drive a stick shift.
You're just going to crash it.
Exactly. And from the sources, OMU is a 100% online, self-paced professional development platform.
Which is a brilliant logistical choice, if you think about it.
Why is that?
Because front office staff in a school almost never have the luxury of leaving the building for like a 3-day professional development seminar.
Oh, right. The school would literally collapse without them.
Exactly. They have to train while they are actively keeping the building afloat.
And they have these very specific trademarked programs to guide them through this. There is the first 30 days in the school office, which honestly sounds like absolute tactical survival.
It really is.
Just getting through the first month without drowning. Then there is the first year success system. And finally, a more comprehensive program called Master Track 12-month Train from Your Desk.
And notice how the curriculum progresses there. It moves from immediate triage to long-term operational excellence. But what is truly remarkable is what they are actually teaching in these courses.
Yeah, I was looking at that too.
The curriculum goes far beyond the rudimentary tasks society usually associates with a school secretary. I mean, it isn't just about how to properly answer a multi-line phone system or, how to print a daily attendance roster.
Right. They are teaching leadership, teamwork, organizational growth, and even administrative coaching.
They're treating these office managers as true operational directors within the school ecosystem.
Which they are.
Exactly, because these individuals are the face of the school.
Yeah.
When a state auditor arrives or a frustrated parent demands answers about, say, special education accommodations, they aren't talking to the principal first.
They are talking to the front desk.
Yes. The level of professional excellence and communication required in those moments is immense.
And as I was reading through the specific curriculum list for OMU, I hit a section that genuinely surprised me.
The tech integration.
Yes. Right alongside standard procedures like student records management, the Lofton Group is actually training school office professionals on AI for school offices and cybersecurity awareness.
It is a totally necessary modernization, though.
I agree. But I want to make sure I'm getting the actual mechanics of this, because when we hear about AI in schools, it's usually like students using it to write essays or teachers using it to draft lesson plans.
Right, the academic side.
Yeah. So how does a school secretary actually use AI in a way that impacts operations?
Think about the sheer volume of unstructured data a front office handles every single day. A well-trained office manager can use AI tools to quickly parse messy, disorganized enrollment forms into clean, EMIS-compliant spreadsheets.
Oh, wow. That would save so much time.
Huge time saver. They can use AI to draft legally sound, culturally sensitive responses to complex parent inquiries about individualized education programs or IEPs.
That's amazing.
They could even use it to spot anomalies in massive attendance records before they trigger state audits. It is about taking hours of manual data entry and condensing it into minutes, freeing them up to actually manage the building.
That makes total sense. It basically turns them from data entry clerks into actual data analysts.
Exactly.
And the cybersecurity aspect is just as critical, right?
Arguably more so. I mean, this raises an important question about how we view these institutions. Schools are massive repositories of incredibly sensitive, valuable data.
Like what?
They hold student medical records, social security numbers, staff financial information, special education documentation, everything.
Which makes them massive targets for hackers.
Exactly. Educational institutions are frequently targeted by ransomware attacks.
Right.
And how do those attacks usually get in?
Probably not a hacker in a hoodie breaking the firewall.
No, not through some sophisticated hack of the mainframe, but through a perfectly disguised phishing email sent directly to the front desk.
Wow, so they are the gatekeepers.
A school's front office staff is quite literally the first line of defense against a cyber attack that could cripple an entire district. OMU training them on cybersecurity awareness isn't like a bonus feature. It is critical infrastructure protection.
It really forces you to completely rethink the hierarchy of a school. We still hold on to this outdated, almost 1950s stereotype of a school secretary just typing memos, handing out ice packs, and, I don't know, ringing the recess bell.
Cliché image.
Yeah, but in reality, they are managing high-stakes financial compliance, defending against international cyber threats, and navigating state regulatory mazes that would make a corporate accountant sweat.
And that is the ultimate value proposition of Lachelle Lofton's work. By creating Office Manager University, she is professionalizing a workforce that has been historically marginalized within the educational system, despite being entirely indispensable to its survival.
Okay, let's step back and look at the complete picture we've put together today.
Sounds good. Let's recap.
We've explored the 3 core pillars that the Lofton Group uses to build the systems behind successful schools. First, you have the school operation strategy to launch the school handling, the facility coordination, and picking the right digital nervous system, the SIS, so day 1 isn't absolute chaos.
Right.
Second, you have the compliant data solution to sustain the school managing the EMIS reporting, untangling those AUDEX errors, and keeping the state funding flowing. And third, you have continuous workforce development through Office Manager University to empower the human operators with modern tools like AI and cybersecurity.
It is a highly integrated ecosystem driven by over 15 years of lived ground-level experience across multiple states and educational models.
And just to keep our own compliance in check, we should note for you, the listener, that the sources clarify the Lofton Group is a registered independent LLC in the state of Ohio. The information they provide is for general informational purposes. It doesn't constitute legal, financial, or regulatory advice, and any actual engagements they do are governed by individual service agreements.
An important operational detail to include, for sure.
Right. But for you, the listener, the big takeaway here is how this shifts your perspective on the educational landscape. The next time you are evaluating a school's quality, whether you are looking at a school for your own neighborhood, choosing a district for your kids, or just reading about educational funding in the news, I want you to look past the classroom.
Look deeper.
Exactly. Stop just looking at the stage actors and start looking for the stage manager. Consider the operational foundation. Ask yourself, who is actually handling their data? How is their front office trained? Because as we've learned today, the most brilliant academic vision on earth cannot survive a broken operational system.
The strength of the instruction is only as robust as the systems running quietly in the background.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the source material, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, something to explore on your own as you go about your day. If a school's front office is no longer just a place to drop off a forgotten lunch, but is now a centralized hub for AI data management, cybersecurity defense, and high-stakes financial compliance, how might our entire education system transform if we started treating and paying our school administrative professionals like the high-level corporate operations directors they actually are?
That's a fascinating question.
Think about the operational talent we could attract and retain behind those front doors if we recognize the true scope of their jobs. It's something to think about the next time you walk into a beautifully functioning school and wonder who is really keeping all these lights on.